Dada Khanyisa, maker of things. And this is a presentation of sculptural paintings and drawings, part of my show titled This Is For You. So my sculptural paintings are made up of wood, but I do incorporate other materials such as found objects. Sometimes it makes sense to just use what already exists, and other times it becomes interesting to have a newly made object. I find it interesting to just combine different feelings as opposed to just recreating reality as I've seen it. And this creates a link between the works, particularly this one, Samia Mboipelo and 70 years ago, because it's safe to assume that while that is a window view, this could be one of the windows that he's looking out of, because these are set in the same geographical location. This is downtown Joburg, and this is also downtown Joburg. So it creates kind of like a link, and also the color choice with the browns and the ochre, also visible over here, further emphasizes that link between the two. So how I approach my practice is by looking at what's around me, my environment, and I'm relatively young, and we go out for drinks, go to exhibitions, go to the park for picnics, and I think it's important for me to tell that story from where I stand, and I guess that adds a layer of humor because there's a seriousness that doesn't translate when it comes to talking about young people or youth culture. It translates as cheeky because of the themes that I cover or tackle, or So I would say that there is the emphasis on youth culture just adds a layer of humor, and maybe also the style I use, because these are like caricatured figures, so they do add a layer of softness. They cushion hard topics. I try not to look too far for inspiration. I look at what's around me or what immediately appeals. And with Ria, she's a character from a TV show that I grew up watching. It was banned, and I was too young to complete the entire series. So I revisited the series in 2020, and I found special moments. I think it was like at that moment that I realized this is like some of the best TV our country has gotten to experience. And so there was this moment in Yizo Yizo where this character was looking outside of the window, and then she flips. There was this red light, and I was so stunned by that moment and how the light hit. I immediately thought that this is something I would like to paint. I'd like to practice my painting using this particular shot for the exercise. So it felt easy. I had no intention to show. It was more of a study. But as I worked on it, it turned out to be a strong work and worthy of exhibiting. So with my practice, I challenge myself most of the time to see if I can step away from what I did, or take it back in a way where it's a reduction, or I add to it. And this is an example. This is it steps out further than the other ones, and I was very interested in what it would mean to have figures that connect, and also I leaned into the impulse of just exploring with metal and having parts that are not entirely connected. So with this setting, this takes place at a friend's bar called Bubby, and when it first opened, the community just received it as our favorite bar, our favorite local bar, and very interesting things would happen there. Very interesting connections would happen. It was like a naughty corner. So from that, I felt that it was important to kind of highlight, because what happens in Cape Town is that it's rare for a bar or an establishment to turn 10 years old, 50 years old, So it makes sense to just capture and celebrate while we can. And this was made within the first 3 months of that space, showing up. And I appreciated what it brought to our ecosystem. And, I felt it important to kind of speak about the naughtiness that, the space inspires. And it was also a way for me to highlight or celebrate my community, because the clothing is by fashion designers who are also my friends. And I was I was in that moment of celebrating and appreciating what was around me. I rely on a dead time or collection time. Sometimes I'm working while they're standing there and waiting, to pick the work up, because it's never resolved and never done in my imagination. But with this work, for example, it's so layered that it took me 4 months to work on and complete. And how I approached this was that I wanted to create different angles and textures and, incorporate tiles to suggest where this is happening, and it's in a bathroom. You just happen to walk in and this lady's crying. And I think I enjoy what is happening here, because it was for me, it's almost like an accomplishment in the sphere of engineering, because I had to have it resolved before making it. I had to figure out how the mirror was going to sit, how the figure was going to sit on the mirror on the tiles on the rest of the background, without risking any injury to any part of this work, So there are those works that take longer than others because of what needs accomplishment, and I think this was one of those. It's like I said with Foliage, it's about taking it a step forward or a step back, or a middle step, and seeing how far I can take it, stretch it wide, pull it up, Yeah,